Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's having a decent evening. I have my vest on. I'm just wondering, we have a bit of a problem with our furnace, so just trying to stay warm, just in case you think I'm changing my colors.
You want your toque?
Yeah, Marlene asked me if I want my toque. Just an aside, I'm assuming that everybody realizes that they can, if they miss part of these talks, if they choose to, they can always go back in and um, listen to them again, or if someone asks you, says that they missed something, you can always, they're all recorded, so you can just go back in the same way as you go into the lectures on Thursday night. Once again, we're getting a little low on questions, but thankfully, thank you, Deborah and Laurie. I'll try and get to all of these questions tonight, but we'll see. This question is from Deborah Olashansky, and it's about the throat center. And she says, I've been thinking about how chakras and Zephyroth manifest both in, through, and around the body. In my understanding of the Zephyroth, the arms relate to the heart center and provide balance to the heart, beauty, beauty relates to the heart center, beauty of various things. I have also heard that in the chakra system, the arms relate to the throat. I think I need better understanding of the throat center. Could you please share about the throat center and how the energy manifests in the arms and in and around the body? So, first of all, the whole principle of these upper centers, heart, throat, brow, crown, has to be kind of semi-understood. Our root, gonad, and solar plexus centers, or the three lower centers, are pivotal in relationship to an individual's personality functioning. And each one of these centers on its own accord link up to the top of the head, to the crown. This is a little bit more difficult when we're talking about the Zephyroth, because I don't know of that kind of an explanation that takes place, although it certainly may. There's all kinds of stuff that we don't know, but certainly I don't know. But in relationship to the chakras, even in the Eastern orientations, not much is discussed about the blending of these three centers ultimately to form a system that can be called a balanced personality system. Although I think in the Zephyrothic system, there's a balance related to the solar plexus. And the same is true, by the way, in some beliefs around the chakras. The root, gonad, and solar plexus centers come together, and the solar plexus becomes a major player in providing links between the bottom and the top centers. Okay. It is my understanding, some part of my experience, that the root center itself can link up energetically right to the top of the head. It comes around and links in this part of the head, the front part of the head. And over a period of time, when that is occurring, that would be called in the Indian background Kundalini. It's another name for energy moving from the bottom to the top. A fusion, a synthesis at a certain level that will stimulate every center. Okay. For some, in the past, they've tried to stimulate the gonad center and link it, as it automatically links, if you've already had energy from the root center to the top of the head. The gonad center links together with that root center and sends energy up to the top of the head. In kind of a way, two separate actions. Yet, because they link together, it's like one action. The next area of engagement is the solar plexus. And this is noted by Japanese background, Taoist background, many kinds of thinking as a major player. That solar plexus, when it is stimulated by the root and the gonad center moving upward, as the heart is to some degree, as the throat is, as the brow is, as the crown is, begins to increase its flow over time to the point where more energy is coming in through the solar plexus area and stimulating the root and gonad center area, because they are fusing and then reaching up and linking up at the top. And they, again, all three link in this area here. A very, very clearly well-defined area. But of course, in the meantime, it's affecting the limbs, legs, arms, and trying to make energy fuse through those three centers all the way through the whole of the system. Energy then is all around the body. And in our, let's say, tendency to want strong detail about how things are, and then we go ahead with our personalities and interpret everything, because interpretation is a way of understanding. Doesn't mean we always get it appropriately, let's say, honestly truthful, but it's an expression of how we are perceiving things. And that changes as we grow and helps us to understand that there may be more than what we understand. So, okay, let's leave that there for a second. In the Eastern tradition, and this is what Deborah is talking about, because this relates to a previous question that she had quite a while ago. In the Eastern tradition, the throat center becomes extremely important. And that, in a kind of a way, is related to that image that I showed you at some point, where it's called the dancing Shiva. Maybe I can get it if you, I'm sorry, I'll just reach up to get it. Hang on. I'll get a small one. Marlene, would you do me a favor and go around the back and pick that one up, because it's much better?
Yep.
Thank you. Sorry, we're just getting some images. They're not perfect, but they give you an idea. And would you do me another favor and bring that one right there, the middle one. Now,
This one?
yeah, and I'll just kind of show that later.
You need dusting.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, what we have there, if you can see this, is kind of indicating that in a well-balanced personality, whatever that would look like, because you have to imagine that each and every one of us, wherever you are, I don't care where you are, often thinks that your personality is well-balanced. No matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter what it looks like. We still have a personalized view about things like that. You can see that this area right here relates to striations of energy moving towards, doesn't show very well, towards the brow and the crown. And at the same time, you can see an arm, this arm here, coming kind of across the chest. Very important, but just as it's like a metaphor. These images are metaphorical. You see this right here is a solar plexus, kind of, reaching out to the sides, literally, in a way that stimulates energy all around the system. And the lower system here, you see that guy right there? It's a person. That is the personality beginning slowly to link with a higher state, with the throat center open, higher state, throat center open, not in relationship to the root and gonad center and the solar plexus, but in relationship to itself. It is opening beyond what is normal in our world, because this is relating to our world. This is us in the normal world. It becomes prevalent. Okay, I'll let you look at that for a few seconds. Okay, now if you'll allow me, yeah, it does show right at the top a little boxy thing right at this area here where the three lower centers are linked into the crown center.
Can't see that very well on the point of view.
Okay, it's very hard to see. I apologize. See right there, that thing right there. That is relating to a depth of engagement that holds energy in a balance in the personality. This is very difficult for anybody in our world to engage with. To be honest, we're attempting to evaluate all the time what might be real or true. And in fact, in this state, it's different. This is the evaluator, and it begins to engage and not be as interested in how and what it evaluates things to be. It's not a very interesting place for we individuals who are reasonably independent. We don't want to be out of charge of things. And in fact, you're not really, but now you're watching things because a deeper level of energy is engaged. Helps you to watch better. If you practice watching, watching begins to be stronger. you can see that the arms are linked literally to that higher state. So, and remember that arm was linked towards the chest. These are linked in relationship to the throat center. So let me enlarge upon what I was talking about. So a metaphor, because if you memorize the metaphor, this should be like that, that should be like this. It's different that when you are blending and fusing with the higher states, you're watching the higher state do its expression, or because it's in the process of synthesizing with the one at its foot. The only way, the reason why it's there is it's always indicated that there are higher levels higher than us. And in fact, this foot is directly focused and pronouncedly pressured on the solar plexus. If you can see the solar plexus right there, and the foot extends to the chest. And the head and the body is extended past and a part of this higher state. In that metaphor, it's trying to help us to understand that the personality structure is not anticipating, not jumping to conclusions, not fulfilling its version of being valuable and important. This is really hard for us, don't worry. It's engaging with it as if it were learning, as if it were just everything it saw would always be remembered as part of an existence that relates to higher states, but includes the function of this form. It's involved with the engagement with the form. So there is a question here. So what happens when the solar plexus, root and gonad center are working together and energy is moving through, which sometimes you can perceive and sometimes you can't. And often people cannot perceive it at all, but it's still moving through. Our focus as a personality is on these planes. What kind of clothes do I wear? What kind of food do I? What am I going to do today? What's on the agenda? Oh my gosh, I have to do that. Oh my gosh, I have to do this. Or how come they don't think this way or that way, or whatever it may be? This is our normal state that relates to doing things. Same is true in religious backgrounds or philosophical backgrounds or scientific backgrounds. I don't care what it is. The attending is related to the state that you are primarily focused on. In some of the Eastern traditions, you're not thought to be a kook if your focus is only on spiritual growth. Not uncommon to meet with a person walking in the woods who is completely and totally not involved with their current relationship with life. Very rare, but not uncommon. Meaning it's okay. That person will be taken care of somehow because they don't know and they cannot take care of themselves. You see how a balanced personality needs to be there, especially in our world. But you asked about the arms. And it's a really good question because as the throat center opens, it begins to open for some people in the neck, right here. For some people, right back here at the dowager's hump area. For some people, right up here at the medulla oblongata area, cracks open like a crack, literally. For some, it may have been open before. It may not have. But if it had a little bit, remember, it still has to deal with the personality that's in charge of everything and thinks it knows everything. Has to teach the personality how to pull back when the personality is being taught never to pull back. Very scary stuff. So, actual growing is not for the weak of heart. But this energy moving up stimulates the back of the neck or the front of the neck. And then a small upper part of the chest. Just a little bit. Now it stimulates it past the stimulation that the solar plexus root and gonad center synthesis could give it. Because it's like a little catalyst has occurred. A certain kind of interaction, for example, meditation or the pump, for example, or whatever you might, the movement of the body back and forward, which exerts a movement of pressure around the body, or this way, or up the system and down the system in a different way into the physical body. All three, according to the Chinese, are viable. It's my experience that may be true. However, your experience is more important than mine because we are all growers. So the stimulation of that upper part of the heart, let's say an aspect of the heart center, begins to flush energy back into the throat center and up the sides, and it can go up the sides here in the front of the ears or behind the ears to this area right here, literally. And then it stimulates an area in through here. And in fact, a flood of energy can move in the back at the dowager's hump area and move upward and move downward from that general area, stretching and spreading energy beyond the purview of the solar plexus fusion with the root and gonad center, as it has already come up. Now, this is, when we're talking about this, you have to keep in mind, don't have to, but it would be great to keep in mind that the idea behind this is after there's a fusion of these systems into the head region. The crown center is already functional to some degree, and it is waiting to link up with the brow center and waiting to link up with the neck area and the chest area. It's already linked up to some degree with the fusion of the solar plexus root and gonad center. It's a dilemma to understand this exactly how it works, because in fact, when the throat and heart are working together, breathing affects it, thought affects it. And the thought in the mind, in the brain that we normally are used to, is there because of the root gonad and solar plexus. And it's there because it's very important in the process of living. At some stage, there begins to be a quieter rendering in that brain, which allows perception to be slowly broadened in the individual, because slowly enables the personality to maintain a relative balance. Sometimes this may not be balanced too well, and it can gain access to a kind of balance. And remember, what I said at first is every one of us thinks we already have a balanced personality. That is the nature of us. We do these kinds of things. It helps us to believe that anything and everything that we do are as valuable or more valuable, or even sometimes less valuable than what other people are doing. And we emphasize these things to create and maintain that so-called relative balance in our personality, because we believe we don't have a balance if we think any different than how we were, let's say, brought up to believe or think. This makes it difficult. I'm getting to the arms. Sorry, Deborah, I'm getting there. So, in fact, there are strange things that happen in the arms and the legs, because at the bottom of the feet, there are chakras. In the hands, there are chakras. It's plural. In each center, there are small little chakras. Each one, even the heart center. Yes. Which means they open, blend. I'm making these funny noises because you may be counting them, or you may be thinking that maybe they sound like that. There's all kinds of things that can be heard or sensed or felt or seen, for that matter. Those things are related to the personality's engagement with attempting to understand what's going on inside. And that is the nature of us as a human being, energy being. In the arms, it is often said by some that this part of the arm is related to the heart center, that this part is the solar plexus, that this part is the throat center. I've found that especially to be true. Often these links can be noted, but they're often very, very, very subtle, and you may miss them. In here at the chest, you may perceive them. And when those smaller little centers or aspects of the heart center open, they can give you a twinge. Same is true in every center. The brow center as well. As that energy is moving in and through the back of the neck, for some, it will spread to the shoulders. There are two centers in the shoulders. It will turn them on. If you've been working with your hands and you've noticed your wrists a little bit, the shoulders, the area in behind the neck, will pull each other. It'll bring energy down and up again. Sometimes there'll be energy down the upper part of the arm, up underneath, cut across the chest, through or around the back, and up the back, up to the top of the head. And they will link up in an aspect back here at the back of the head. And I'm not going to tell you how that works, because when it works, you'll know how it works. If I tell you how it works, it won't help. But you may, personality is very tricky, and it can interpret in different ways, different things. So I'm saying the heart center and the throat center are pivotal in relation, and the solar plexus, root, and gonad center. And ultimately, all centers move energy down through the arms, move energy down through the legs. Because as the center opens beyond the inflection or the stimulation by the root, gonad, and solar plexus center, it moves energy down into the lower system and up into the upper system. The whole system is affected by change. The personality is the dealer of change. In other words, it has to deal with the change. We're very fortunate that we can engage with life to some degree. And as we do so, we'll notice instigations of responses that may be there because we've opened a little bit and we're not used to it yet. You'll find if you can allow yourself to perceive them, your reflex reactions, they're there because you're opening. They might get a little stronger and then they disappear, like as if they weren't even there. Then you say, I think I shifted a little bit because now I don't have that same response, but it's within you and the cultivation of you as a personality from the time of your birth. I mean, you've cultivated yourself to engage with the world, protect, and bring towards, be calm, not so calm, whatever it is. And you have to be a little careful about overreacting because it intensifies even more, because if there's more energy coming in, then the intensification gets broader. This is normal. Learning how to be quieter and almost like an inner smile that the Taoists and the Buddhists talk about all the time. Not such a terrible thing. There'll be other characteristics that you may have, but nonetheless, a good one. When the arms do open, and when that personality form literally is influenced tremendously, remember the one line there, by this higher state, the hands become under the domain of a higher state, or a heart center, for example, or any of the centers. You have to be careful with this because the personality is quite used to copying anything. If it happens once in you, one time, if that higher state operates through, the personality takes note. And it will be uncommonly easy for it, because it's practiced this idea all the way through life, for it to engage as if, and the personality will not know it's doing it. So it's not necessarily something that you do, let's say, for a purpose. You may have those purposes inside of you and not even know you have them, but they will reflect an importance in you because you can do something. In fact, that is not a higher state. But sometimes doing that kind of thing will influence you to see you doing those things. Sometimes it's very difficult to perceive. It's so subtle. No negation involved. All part of the process of linking up with a different level. if a different level is linked up with, there is no control in it. And it provokes a kind of anxiety in the personality because the personality does not want to be manipulated at all by anything except by itself. Not a negative thing. It's part of it. I'm not sure if this may be helpful or not. I'm just looking at something else here. No, I'm sorry. Thank you. I thought it would. Now, so the question that Deborah asks is a very important question because the arms themselves can ultimately be used by a higher state very subtly to transmit energy down into the system that may help the personality to go beyond itself, to be more prepared for a deeper level of activity that can relate through the throat and through the neck, through the brow, through the crown, through the solar plexus, root, and gonad center. Because you become, this is not magical. This is just a system that relates to a tremendously higher state that is dormant within us. And there is a certain amount of capability, a stimulation of that dormancy that can be used for the personality's self-interest. And it is quite strong. But it is nothing like that higher state's interaction with the form for a purpose of enabling others in complete silence. It's very different than how we understand a person should be if they are truly so-called spiritual. We're learning. But those arms and hands can be used. They can move, and you won't know why. And then your personality will decide that you're going to move it to the right, and it will change altogether. And that will be, you'll say, oh my gosh, what am I doing? What's this? What happened there? I was going to go do something else. I was going to move it this way. That might be a twinge of a higher state within. I remember a silly story years ago, in the 70s actually, when I was in business, another business, and I was heading to an appointment and I was being trained to trust an action that may occur within my personality. And my feet turned left to walk across the street, and my brain was headed straight ahead. And I said, okay, I'm conscious of this. I can decide not to do it or do it. And I walked across the street and gingerly opened the door to this store, and behold, an old friend from many years ago was there, and we chatted for about 2-3 minutes. That's all. And then I went back out and went off to my meeting. Fortunately, the person I was meeting was late as well, so it was okay. But it kind of shocks the personality when these things can happen, and it hasn't got anything. It can happen physically, emotionally, and mentally. But it's all preparation. It's not about you being good, bad, great, not so great. It's preparation for something beyond our understanding. But there is another aspect of this that is related sometimes to teachers, not related to the hands, but related to the throat and the heart center. And sometimes these centers will come on and you'll have ideas in your head and there'll be an inner voice and you'll be aware of it. And you'll express yourself, not because of what's in your head, but because there is something to be said, and it's usually quite respectful, gentle, kind, understanding, or compassionate, you could say. And it's out of a context with what you believe you need to do or say. And this is also training for the personality. It is being said about the link, and I'll just say it straight, behind the head, roughly about 1.5 feet or 2, with respect to the throat combination and the chest combination, or the heart center combination, that link behind can be developed to the degree where you can align with another plane while you're consciously engaging with life. My hope would, if that were to happen, that you were open enough not to interfere with it. And that's why one of the reasons, and I think I mentioned this before, why this meditation that we've tried, where you focus out in front of your brow about 1 foot or so, and just normally breathe in, and in your mind draw a line straight out to behind your head about 1 foot or so, 1.5 feet, and then slowly, like it's just that quick, and then slowly breathe out and draw a line out from behind the head through the back of the neck, out in front of the chest about 8 inches or so. And all that time, all you're doing is breathing normally. You're not emphasizing breath. You're not doing anything except breathing normally. And you'll begin to notice stimulations relating to these 3 centers. And they will cultivate an activity roughly about here, and you will notice it all across here as well, that will help you to understand that these centers are linking up, at least to some degree. One single line, smaller than a thread of silk, will feel quite strong, because we still have within us a focus on our personalization, which is natural for us. It takes a while, some might say many lifetimes, until you can get to be okay with just watching what is going on. And just when you're doing that exercise and just being relaxed, and then just breathing normally, you can do it again, just breathing normally. you'll begin to notice something behind the chest as well. And thus then an activity, an action, energetic in action, upward and downward from that area. Or it may occur in the front of the chest too. It depends on what exercises you've been doing in relationship to spiritual work. I hope I've answered this to some degree. So what I'm basically saying is they're both right. There's no wrong in this thing. Although we'll decide what's right and wrong, that is normal. And don't put it down. It's just part of our attempts to make sense of things as we experience things along the way. If you can keep reminding yourself that as you experience things along the way, there may be something else coming along that you may not understand. And you may try to fit it into something you do understand. And they may not fit as well, so you may make up a story. It's possible that, you might say, that this is this and this is that. And it's possible. May it be true, may not be true. Allow your 50-50 to take place. It's 50-50 possibility that it might be true, but also that it may not be. And don't be afraid to speak it. Your life experience is where you're learning, and your willingness to allow yourself to be a human being is where you'll understand deeper, and also not only yourself, but others as well. Very, very valuable question. I hope I did that all right. One other thing is, remember that above the diaphragm and below the diaphragm are part of you. And all of us is a part of our growing. Not only a piece here and a piece there. If higher states engaged with the plan of the human being, it included all of the human being, not just parts. Misunderstandings are what I would call normal. I wish you well with that, Deborah. Thanks for the question. It was a good one. Thank you. Here's another one. I'm not sure I have time, but from sorry, it was Natalie Taylor that asked this question. So I'm wondering what the difference is between discipline and regimentation. I'm noticing that when I set up a process that is meant to be helpful, it becomes a should, and sooner or later, I end up rebelling against it. Even when it makes me feel better energetically or physically, for instance, energy exercises or physical exercises. It's got me thinking about what Paul said in the Bible about doing what he knows he should not do and not doing what he knows he should do. And none of us are exempt from this one, Natalie. If there is a common bond between all humanity, this is one of them. At least there are many common bonds we have. It's also got me thinking about what you used to call the golem. That part of us that maintains the status quo and seems to have its own energized form within us. Status quo, remember, related to each and every individual in accordance with their training from the time they were born. Hard to get rid of some of that stuff. And sometimes you better not, because some of it is really helpful from time to time. Which also got me thinking of Young Shadow. If you think that through, you'll see the combination. The golem is basically a metaphor again. And it has many interpretations depending on how you consider that metaphor to be. and why you consider it to be such and such. But it's meant to help us to realize that our reflexive habits from birth create actions and reactions in the personal that we often do not control and don't even know we have, by the way. Even controlling is part of it. And in your engagement with trying to be helpful to yourself, remember that, let's say, older part of you that you've been practicing for years and years, it doesn't want to shift and change anything. It's well protected. And it's been, let's say, taught to be well protected. That's not negative. That's how we're trained here on these planes. The training that we get often is other people trying to help us in our relationship with how they think we need to be to survive. And I'd like to be able to say that as we mature, we see that some of those were unrealistic. Some of those didn't even make any sense, but they made sense to the trainer. And thank goodness we had a trainer, because we needed to be potty trained. We needed to eat better, get some sleep, read the right kind of books, assess the world and see how it should be versus how it is. But Paul is just literally talking about everyone who is a human being. And this Golem idea, I mean, has it, as I said, has a lot of interpretations, but they're very similar. And this physical maturity that we have, as we get older, we get to be a male or a female with all our parts and our engagements with others. We steal from other people how we interact with each other. Our parental background. If you take a close look at others, it's hard to see yourself, so that's why I'm saying others. You'll almost understand how their background training was. If you could only take a close look at ourselves, we could see our background training. And without negation, say, oh, this is how the parents were. This is how they were. You mean we mimic some of that? True, we do. We always want to become the parent. The Golem wants to be the boss. Background wants to be have the only say, the right say. There's no other say. But there is. And this is fairly consistent for everybody. Emotionally, the same thing. Even our thoughts, our emotional thoughts are often expressed in a manner that is similar to other people's that we have known in the past. So, looking at this whole idea makes you begin to realize, even young Shadow, makes you realize, look, we have all kinds of ways of engaging with the world, all kinds of reactions in us. And being okay and say, my goodness, I don't have to only be like this, but being like this is part of me, or like that, or like something else. But I don't have to protect it. And no matter if I'm not exactly expressing myself exactly the way I have been told I had to, or told that I was, then as an individual, I can allow myself to have a personal opinion about myself, and where maybe I can allow myself to change. And in some cases, maybe you can't. That's part of being human too. Learning how to be respectful, but not necessarily by the ointment. Thank you, everybody. I think that's quite enough. And if I didn't cover whatever Natalie and Deborah wanted to, Natalie and Deborah, let me know. I'm sure you will. Please take care of yourselves. We're now going to meditate for roughly 50 minutes to an hour. And once again, if you want to re-look at any of this stuff from listening, or any of your friends say, well, I missed it and I can't, that's too bad. No, you can get in and listen to it if you really want to.
Using the same YouTube.
Using the same YouTube link. And there are many, many there. Take care, everybody. Wish you well. Now we'll just begin to do the balancing and grounding on your own. And please take care.